as we said in our last episode, was born in Mesopotamia, the kingdom of Babylon. Mesopotamia was a province under Babylon, and Allah was not worshipped as at when Ibrahim was born. Majority of the people of Mesopotamia in Babylon were worshippers of carved images, idols, and all forms of object. It was in this place that Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was born. But there is something we need to explain before we continue. When Ibrahim alayhi salam became a teenager, he used to go to the mountain to think about Allah or to think about God, because then he was not yet clear about the truth from vis-a-vis the falsehood that he met. So that was where Allah made manifest to him the true religion of Islam, and immediately he was convinced with the direction and the guidance that was given to him by Allah. He decided to go to his people to warn them against idolatry. From our last episode, we saw how Ibrahim alayhi salam fought against polytheism to the extent that it almost cost him his life. He was thrown into a blazing fire. فَأَنْجَاهُ اللَّهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. Allah saved him from that fire. But what happened subsequently? When he was saved by Allah, he fled Mesopotamia of Babylon in present-day Iraq. He did not flee alone. He fled with his nephew, who later became a prophet as well, Lut alayhi salam. In the biblical version of names, he is called Lot. So they migrated from Babylon. That's Mesopotamia. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, his nephew Lut alayhi salam, and his wife Sarah. You know, in all of this we've not mentioned Sarah. Sometimes Muslims pronounce that word as Saratu. I don't know if it is a bastardization of the word, but Sarah, Saratu. In a very reliable tradition or historical account, history has it in a very authentic manner that Sarah remains the most beautiful woman Allah has ever created on the surface of this earth. Some scholars will tell you that for males it is Yusuf alayhi salam, but for females it is Sarah, Imra'atu Ibrahim alayhi salam, or Zawju Ibrahim alayhi salam. She was a very beautiful woman. As at when they were fleeing from the wicked idol worshippers of Babylon, Ibrahim alayhi salam had no issue, he had no child. So 3 of them fled from the people of Mesopotamia. In the Quran, Allah talked about Lut alayhi salam. Prophet Lut believed in Ibrahim even without being preached to. He saw the right path and he followed. Allah says, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فآمن له لوط قال إني مهاجر إلى ربي إنه هو العزيز الحكيم. Allah says, فآمن له لوط, and Prophet Lut, the nephew of Ibrahim, believed in Ibrahim immediately, alayhi salam. قال, and he said, إني مهاجر إلى ربي, I have decided to migrate unto my Lord. Migration here means to leave the path of error for the path of rectitude and correctness. So 3 of them fled. Before I tell our viewers where they fled to, let us go back to Mesopotamia. Apart from the fact that the king of Babylon, Namrud, ordered that Ibrahim alayhi salam should be thrown into a blazing fire, there was another encounter between Ibrahim alayhi salam and Namrud, the king of Babylon. Namrud and Ibrahim alayhi salam had an argument one day. This was how Allah put it. Allah says, Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahima fi rabbih. Ya Muhammad, have you observed that person that disputed with Ibrahim alayhi salam regarding his Lord? Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahima fi rabbih an atahu Allahu al-mulk. Simply because Allah made him a king. Something that is just for a while. He became very obdurate, very obstinate, very stubborn, simply because Allah did him a favor and made him a king. He decided to dispute about the existence of Allah. Allah says, Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahima fi rabbih an atahu Allahu al-mulk. إذ قال Ibrahim, when Ibrahim alayhi salam told him that Rabbi alladhi yuhyi wa yumit, my Lord Allah is the one that gives life and takes life. It is his sole power and authority. It is his exclusive divine preserve, which he does not share with anybody, that he gives life and he takes life. Then argumentative king of Babylon, Namrud, disputed by saying, Ana uhi wa umit. I can also give life and I can also take life. Before Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam could say anything, Namrud asked his guards to enter the prison and bring out 2 prisoners. They went into the prison on his command and order and brought out 2 people that were serving prison terms. Then Namrud said one should be released and the other should be executed. Then he told Ibrahim alayhi salam that, isn't this a proof that I can give and take life? Then Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam said, okay, you have spoken about this, but I have another question. Ana uhi wa umit, qala rabbi alladhi yuhi wa yumit. قال إبراهيم فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق. You think you have won regarding this one. Okay, let me give you another test. فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق. It is Allah that makes the sun to rise from the east. Today, when the sun rises from the east, you, Namrud, make it set from the west in the evening. I'll pray to Allah to hands off and allow you to do it. When he couldn't do it, and he can never do it, Allah said, فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرْ. He was put to shame. He was disgraced. He was humiliated because people saw him as being so powerless and empty. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْتِي بِالشَّمْسِ مِنَ الْمَشْرِقِ فَأْتِ بِهَا مِنَ الْمَغْرِبِ. Allah said, فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرْ وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. Allah does not guide a people that are unjust. Namrud, the king of Babylon, failed the test. In continuation of what we were saying, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam fled after what transpired in the blazing fire, where he was saved by Allah. Allah said, Ya naru kunni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. Then Allah stated further that وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَلُوطًا إِلَى الْأَرْضِ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We saved Prophet Ibrahim and Lut alayhi salam. I just told you that Prophet Lut believed, declared his faith in Allah because he was convinced by the teachings of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Allah said, وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ, we saved Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, وَلُوطًا, and his nephew Lut, إِلَى الْأَرْضِ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا لِلْعَالَمِينَ, to a particular place that is full of blessing for the entire mankind, or for the people of the worlds. Where is this place? Where is أَرْضِ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا? The truth is that anytime you find al-ard allati barakna fiha in the Quran, that land that is full of blessing or blessings, it is Sham. It used to be called Sham, but now it is divided into a lot of countries. Today, what used to be Sham is where you can find Jordan, is where you can find Jerusalem today, is where you can find Syria today. It is also where you can find Palestine, Syria, Jerusalem, and some parts of Iraq. Sorry, not part of Iraq, because Iraq was where he fled from, where Ibrahim alayhi salam was saved from. So, Ard allati barakna fiha used to be known as what? It used to be known, Ard allati barakna fiha used to be known as Sham. Today you have some parts of Yemen, then Jordan, where we have the Dead Sea, Bahrul Mayyit, and then Jerusalem, Palestine, and Old Saba. Saba used to be the former name for Yemen. All these places put together form Ard allati barakna fiha. But when Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Prophet Lut fled from Babylon, they went straight to Palestine. But while they settled in Palestine, Allah made Lut to become a prophet. Lut alayhi salam became a prophet. So Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam asked him to go to Jordan, very close to the Dead Sea, the place that is referred to as Sodom and Gomorrah. If you don't want to call it Sodom and Gomorrah, you call it Sadum wa Amuria. Unfortunately, Lut came and met a terrible set of people, the first set of people to commit sodomy, homosexuality. But that is a topic for another day when we are going to talk about Prophet Lut alayhi salam. But now let us concentrate on Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. But it is worthy of note, and it is important for us to know that Prophet Lut shifted from where Ibrahim and his family were, and he relocated to Sodom and Gomorrah, very close to the Dead Sea in Jordan. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Sarah, it was only both of them because no issues. They settled in Palestine. But there was famine, Famine, not famine as in working in the farm, or drought, if you like. There was drought or famine in Palestine. So they migrated further to Egypt. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam arrived Egypt. That was one of his most important locations in the story or in the sequence of the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. While in Egypt, his wife Sarah was given a slave girl by name Hajar, but commonly pronounced as Hajara or Hajaratu. Hajar was the slave girl of Sarah. But Sarah was in agony. What kind of agony? Emotional agony. She was saddened by the fact that after all these years, she was not able to conceive, especially if she looks at the white hair all over her husband, Ibrahim alayhi salam. So one thing led to the other. Sarah became very worried, and Sarah gave out his slave girl Hajar. And Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam married Hajar. And Hajar gave birth immediately. Hajar gave birth to Ismail, while Sarah did not give birth. So Hajar gave birth to Ismail. And Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was very happy. And Allah instructed that Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and his new wife, the former slave girl of his wife Sarah, should migrate to Hijaz, present-day Saudi Arabia. So Prophet Ibrahim, his little son Ismail, and his new wife Hajar migrated to Hijaz, that is Saudi Arabia. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam kept his family there and decided to leave them for another mission. So the uncultivated, barren, arid desert with the scorching intensity of the sun, that was where Ibrahim alayhi salam left his wife. In the whole of Hijaz, it was only Hajar and Ismail. Look at how big the desert could be then, with the scorching sun and uncultivated, no food, no nothing. So it was only Ismail and Hajar that were left there. But while Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was leaving them for another mission, he prayed to Allah. And I want us to listen to the kind of supplication that Ibrahim did before he left, alayhi salam. Prophet Ibrahim said, Rabbi, ij'al hadha al-baladan aminan. Ya Allah, make this land to be secure. Rabbi, ij'al hadha al-balada aminan wa junubuni warzuq ahlaha min al-thamarat. That is in Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah says, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam prayed to Allah, and in another version he said Allah should bless the land of Hijaz with different kinds of fruits and food items. And that would be miraculous. And Allah accepted it. How can you have food items in a desert? But this is very, very easy for Allah. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam said, Rabbi ij'al hadha al-balada aminan وَجُنُوبُنِي وَبَنِيَ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ, and save me and my son from the worship of idols. Then he continued with his supplication. He said, Rabbi, inni askantu ربنا إني أسكنت من ذريتي بوعد غير ذي زرع عند البيتك المحرم. Ya Allah, I leave my family, my progeny, my son, and my wife. I leave them behind. I leave them. تركت ربنا إني تركت ذريتي بوعد غير ذي زرع. I have left them in the wilderness, a wilderness, uncultivated wilderness. There is nobody, very dry. فَجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. But before he said this, he said, رَبِّي لِيُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ. I'm leaving them behind so that they can pray to you, so that they can worship you. رَبِّي فَجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. Ya Allah, I did not leave anything behind for them. Please, let passers-by be inclined towards them. Let them assist them. I didn't leave anything behind. Please, Ya Allah, I want the hearts of good people to be inclined towards my family members. فَجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ وَارْزُقْهُم مِّنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ. Ya Allah, provide for them from the different kinds of fruits. Different kinds of fruits. It could be dates, it could be grapes, it could be what have you, different varieties of fruit. When Ibrahim alayhi salam supplicated, he proceeded, he left. But Hajar, you know the kind of love that mother has for child. Hajar carried Ismail. It was not because of her own self, but it was because of her son Ismail. No food. Mother was hungry, child was hungry. So what Hajar did was to keep Ismail in a safe place. And she started running up and down between two mountains. These two mountains are referred to as Safa wal Marwa. Allah talked about Safa wal Marwa. Inna Safa wal Marwata min sha'airillah. فَمَنْ هَجَّ الْبَيْتَ أَوِ التَّمَرَ فلا جناح عليه أن يطوف بهما. Allah said, whoever goes on pilgrimage. Hajar was running helter-skelter between Safa wal Marwa in search of food and water for her son Ismail. She continued like that severally until she fell down as a result of her getting tired and exhausted. She fell down. When she fell down, Allah sent an angel to her, and the angel asked her to get up and the angel hit its feet on the sandy ground, and a particular and unique kind of water started gushing out from the desert. That water is called Ma'u Zamzama. That's what we know to be Zamzam today. And before you know it, it gushed continuously. It would have covered the entire world, and it would have flooded the entire world, if not because Hajar used one part of her feet to step on it. If not, it would have covered the entire universe. Ma'u Zamzama. And then before you could say anything, this uncultivated land was full of different varieties of fruits. This shows that Allah answered the supplication of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, where he said, Rabbi ijal hadha al-balada aminan وَارْزُقْ أَهْلَهُ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ مَنْ آمَنَ مِنْهُمْ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Allah said He will provide the people of Mecca, the sanctified city of Mecca. Allah said He will provide that city with abundance. That's why Allah said, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا بَلَدًا آمِنًا يُجْبَى إِلَيْهِ ثَمَرَاتُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ رِزْقًا مِنْ لَدُنَّا. Today you will see that all over Mecca there are different varieties of food as a result of the supplication of Prophet Ibrahim. Before Prophet Ibrahim returned back to his wife and son, Ismail had grown into a very matured big boy. He was already big. So Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was very, very happy to see the condition of his family and to see that Allah had answered his prayer. But one very, very dramatic thing happened in the life of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and his son. One day Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam went to sleep and he had a dream that he was slaughtering his son Ismail. There is a very huge difference between the dream of a prophet and the dream of an ordinary person. If an ordinary person dreams, it may not be reality or it may not be actualized. But the dream of the prophet or the dreams of the prophets are the same as reality. Ibrahim alayhi salam saw that his faith in Allah was about to be tested. Allah instructed him in the dream to slaughter his only child at that time, Ismail. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ سَعْيًا. When Ismail attained maturity, that was when we ordered Ibrahim alayhi salam to offer him a sacrifice. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ سَعْيًا. Ibrahim alayhi salam had only one difficulty. How would he convey this message to his son Ismail? So he went straight to Ismail and said, Ya bunayya, oh my little child, oh my young child, inni ara fil manami, I saw in my dream, anni adhbahuka, that I was slaughtering you. Immediately he said this, Ismail alayhi salam understood that his father's faith was about being put to test. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam asked his son Ismail, Fanzur madha tara, how do you see this?